Hello everyone, this is In-Game Art, and doing a little boxing, little breakdown of the demo. This is Resident Evil 3 for the PlayStation 4. Now this physical copy comes with Resident Evil 3 as well as Resident Evil Resistance all on one disc. Each game can be installed individually onto your PS4, so it's nice in case you're working with limited hard drive space or may not be interested in Resident Evil Resistance and don't have to deal with the updates that involve that game. It's always nice to have choices. Now Resident Evil 3 did have already an update on disc. Its version was 1.01 on disc, and it's mostly just bug fixes. This is probably most likely due to the demo version they released prior to the main release, and whatever bugs and issues they learned from that, and the update they provided that, they just provided to the main release as well. So that's really nice that they did that. But there was still an update. This update size was 260 megabytes big, and will take you to version 1.03. Again, more bug fixes and so forth. Now I did play the entire game without any of these updates, and I didn't experience any problems or issues. Now, Resident Evil Resistance had a pretty large update. It was 2.3 gigabytes big and will take you to version 1.03. More bug fixes and balancing and so forth since the time of making this video. Now, bear in mind, Resident Evil Resistance is an online-only experience game. So if you do not have internet or limited internet or may not have PlayStation Plus, you can't even play Resident Evil Resistance. So I wouldn't even worry about playing it if you do not have internet. Now, on to Resident Evil 3. Now, again, as I said, I did play the entire game without updating it, and I didn't experience any bugs or issues that could prevent me from progressing. I did experience some minor hiccups, but I'll get into that later. Now, I did play all the campaigns. I did play campaigns, but difficulties, Nightmare, Hardcore, and Inferno. And I did play through all of them without using gunpowder. And again, there's no trophy or reward for playing the entire campaign without gunpowder. Very frustrating again. But as I said, I did play the entire thing, and I put many hours into it. I almost locked everything in the game. The game is fun. It's still an enduring and survival experience, mostly in the difficulty Inferno mode. Nightmare mode definitely was hard, but not super hard, and Hardcore felt more like easy or normal. There wasn't really much challenge to the game, to be honest with you. I kind of just breezed through the game, most of it. But the biggest glaring problems with Resident Evil 3 is that, as everyone else said, it's short. It's a very quick game. I even speedrun Nightmare difficulty when I was just messing around, and I beat it in like an hour. That's how short the game is. There's just so much missing content that the original PlayStation 1 release had, and some might say this is not a big deal, but I think it is, considering that the PS1 version is like the 1998 or something like that, and this is a 2020 game. It's kind of weird that an old PS1 game had more content than the next generation or current generation gaming. I can list off the problems missing in this game. There's key locations gone, the clock tower, the park, the water treatment, and even other key smaller locations are missing. Nemesis no longer pursues after you unless it's a scripted event, which is kind of disappointing and kind of downgrades Nemesis a little bit. As well as there's no ink ribbons in the game. The mercenary mode is missing as well. Random puzzles is gone as well. There's just a lot missing, considering that those were key things that made Resident Evil 3 Resident Evil 3. The only things that are here now is just Jill, Nemesis, and Raccoon City. Everything else is just kind of just mushed together. And it's kind of very disappointing because you can clearly see that this was intended to be as a small little expansion or DLC thing for Resident Evil 2. There's so much reused assets that the feel, the look, and the style of the game does not really feel like a sequel, just more like as I said, a DLC or expansion. The game is still fun. I don't want to downgrade it and say it was a boring and terrible experience, but it left you wanting more out of it, truthfully, because it just some of the things that they did was really good. Some of the boss fights were a lot of fun, though repetitive at certain moments. Nemesis is good, and he is menacing and threatening, but as I said, with scripted events and so forth, he just seems like a nuisance. He can be kind of annoying, just like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. He's cool and he's menacing, but again, it seems like a missed opportunity again for him. it could have been way more well done compared to what they did with them. But the small segments they did with them was a lot of fun, and try to fight in them in those areas. It's kind of hard to explain because at moments he can be menacing and scary, but other times you're like, ugh, Nemesis. It's kind of hard to explain unless you experience it yourself. Then, the other main things I can probably gripe about is the dodging mechanic in the game. Now, Resident Evil 3, the original one, the Nemesis one, did have a shoddy hit and miss dodging mechanic. Well, I would hope they would have refined it in this one, but sadly, it can be very frustrating because it seems inconsistent. There will be times when you know you did a perfect dodge, but somehow you get hit, and there are times that you dodge, but somehow Jill doesn't dodge in the right direction that you chose. It can be very frustrating, and I guarantee you're going to be playing this and you're going to be yelling a lot. How did I get hit? I dodged. I pressed the dodge button. Why did I get hit? Or Jill doesn't do anything and you still get hit, but even though you press the dodge button, it can be very, very frustrating and just irritating. I wish they would have did a little bit more refinement in that area. As well as I noticed that when you shoot like the shotgun or the grenade launcher, you can't reload until a set period of time. There's a cooldown before you can reload. And it's very odd because you can dodge or switch out your guns and back, and then you can instant reload. I don't know if that's a bug or it was designed that way. It's just more annoying because sometimes you're working with certain mechanics and you're trying to quickly reload, but Jill won't reload even though you keep pressing the button. I think that was just an issue there. Hopefully they may get fixed that, because there was a lot of times I wish I could reload on the fly. Other than that, I still had fun. The game was fun. That's one thing I want to just point out really quickly. I still had a good time. I still had a challenge with the game, mostly in Inferno mode, and I had fun, and the characters, the world, the environment was still very well done. That's the problem. It's so short, and you wanted to see more, especially how good they made Jill, how much they made the other characters enriching and loving. Like, I like Nikolai, Mikhail, Carlos, Troy. They're all very well done characters, and you wanted to see more of them, but the thing just ends so quickly with the characters and its story. What's upsetting is that you can see a lot of potential in Resident Evil 3 of being its own game, much like the original release on PS1. But again, I think they just quickly stitched it together, and you can even see signs where they stitched the game together and just try to rush and hurry up and send the product out there. And just try to make a quick buck by throwing Resident Evil Resistance on top of it and try to sell the main costume outfit that Jill used to wear as paid DLC or a pre-order bonus. It's just, again, a business got its scummy little hands into it, and before it was ready, and just rushed it out the door and try to cash in on the roller coaster, the hype for the game, and just saw the opportunity with doing little work and try to profit as much as they could off of doing as small as work as they possibly could. Kind of like the original first Resident Evil 3 release, but at least in that one, they had more content. So, Resident Evil 3 is a good game. I don't want to say it's a bad game, but eventually down the line we could see maybe a free DLC Mercenaries mode, or maybe a bundle that will come with Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 on one disc or something like that. Maybe something down the road, so just keep that in mind. In the end, I'd say hold off just because the game is so short. You don't want to spend full price on it, but it's still a good game to put on your collection. It's just sad and disappointing that they didn't spend more time to finish it and get more of a better product out the door. It's saddening, and you see a lot of potential in the game, especially for the characters and Jill and Nemesis. They all have so much potential, but it was squandered by just a quick business practice, or poor business practice, if you will. So, like always, I will leave links down in the description if you're instant copy. For the most part, I'm telling you to hold off, but it's still worthy to be in your collection at some point to buy, just because it's still a fun, good game, especially if you're a fan of Resident Evil. So, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next unboxing video. Bye-bye!